What's up everyone, my name is Biku, and if you have watched my video about my 3D printer, which is over there, you probably can't see it, I don't even know if my finger's in frame, but anyway. Maybe you've seen this in the background. It's my new toy, and yes, my 3D printer is my toy, so is this, so is basically this whole garage, but anyway. This, which I have come into possession and have finally gotten working, is a little CNC milling machine. Not a router, because there is some subtle differences between a mill and a router, a CNC mill and a router anyway. This is a mini, as you can see there, mini mill. It is quite old, it's about 10 years old I think. I came into possession of it about a month ago, 2 months ago. And if I open up in here, you can see it's, that the electronics down there are mean looking with the giant transformer and the capacitors, but anyway, that is a Mach 3 board, and those are stepper motor drivers and power supply for everything. Anyway, that is a Mach 3 board. And the reason this machine hasn't, or I've only got it working now, is because it's a locally made board. I live in South Africa. It was made locally by a company here. But this is a little bit of an early revision of the board. And there was a problem with, I don't know if you can see it, at the back, that corner, the nut that was holding it down had actually worn into the traces, and it was basically bridging 5 volts to the ground, and that fuse was blowing very slowly. It wasn't instant, so we couldn't figure out why. We took it to the company that made it. He eventually figured that out, and then within 2 days of having that figured out, it was working. And it is awesome. Like, okay, turning it on. You can see I've got I believe that's a 6mm 2 flutes end mill, whatever you call it. I don't think it's actually called an end mill, but anyway. It's running Mach 3, as I've said previously, and yeah. So now I've got a 3D printer, and I'm working on another 3D printer, and now I have a CNC mill. So to quote one of my favorite YouTubers, AVE, or AVE, or whatever you call it, the empire of dirt is growing. Even though it's not that dirty over there, but it's pretty dirty over here. Empire of dirt nonetheless. So, you can see here, it's running Mach 3. Right now I'm still, as you can see, still running the, if it'll focus, still running the demo, because it's okay for now. Once I start doing things that require more than 500 lines of G code, I will eventually buy it, and you can see there's the big ass oh fuck button, so if something goes wrong, oh fuck, it's off. Anyway, enable it. It works. I don't really have the non-cutting travel speed set that high, but yeah, you can see it works. And I had gotten this working, but the thing is, when I got it, or when we got it, it was shipped. Basically, the machine was shipped with this, like the actual machine part of it, and this cabinet with all the electronics separate. They were shipped in 2 different pallets, basically. And all the wires, all these wires were cut off and shipped separately, and we had to put it together and rewire it. But because this machine is quite old, I got no documentation with it whatsoever. I knew nothing about it until I saw it. I had no idea how it was wired up. I had no idea what anything did. I had no idea how to configure Mach 3, the ports and pins, to do anything. I had no idea how the actual how the spindle was controlled. I didn't know whether it was just on-off and then controlled via here, or if it was relay controlled, which kind of the same thing, or if it was PWM controlled so that you can actually control the speed in Mach 3. But as it turns out, it is as simple as a relay control and manual control with this dial. So yeah, and again, it has another oh fuck button on it as well. And I've been playing around with some shit. I haven't really done anything too impressive yet. You can see I was playing around with if it would focus. There we go. Right. There we go. Playing around with some circle G-code just to get some practice in an aluminium. And I was doing some stuff with this. These are linear rails for, again, the new 3D printer I'm building. Basically just drilling holes to make it exact. And yeah, it's awesome, really. Couple of caveats that I've noticed with it. It doesn't have any end stops, which as long as you're careful isn't that big of an issue, but can be rather annoying. Like if I show you, and it's just started up, it doesn't have any end stops, and if I go all the way over, it should, yeah, you could probably hear that it ramped down so that that's its and I'll do it here as well. So that is its 0, 0. It's got a slowdown point so that it stops itself, which is cool. It's awesome. But if you, and I know you wouldn't really do this, if you manually move the motors while the machine is off, it will think wherever it starts or when it turns on, where it is there is where it was when it turned off. So if it's not in that position, bad things can happen, and you'll hear a lot of grinding of motors. But that's not too big of an issue, as long as you don't manually move it while it's off, which I can't think of a reason why you would do. But yeah, so enough of the talking, let's mill something. What to mill, though? Here's some plastic. I've been playing around with this. It's polyethylene, I believe. You can see I was cutting some aluminium as well, just playing around. So there we have some plastic. Putting it in the mill. Fairly simple task. It's got a vise on it. One thing I don't like is it doesn't have the biggest throw ever. Sorry, I'm just tightening down the vise. It doesn't have the biggest area ever, so it's not like I can, and it is only 3-axis, so again I can't do anything crazy, but it's 3-axis, and it doesn't have the biggest machining area ever. It's only about 170 or 180 in X and about 85 in Y. And then Z doesn't really matter because you're going to be limited by the size of the bit that you've got in it. But it's roughly 150, somewhere around there. And you can always take this vise off and clamp things directly to the carriage. And yeah. So that's off. Bringing it down. This is a 2-flute, so you can do plunge cutting. So basically, if you, well, mind you, it's plastic, so it doesn't really matter. You could do it with just about anything. Start it up. Nope. There we go. And you can see I'm still busy learning Mach 3 and stuff, so let's go 50% feed rate, which is roughly 300 millimeters a second, which again, it's plastic, so it doesn't really matter. and whatever that is done, I guess. Again, I do not claim in any sense of the word to be an expert on anything, except maybe procrastination and watching YouTube videos. But I've built a 3D printer, three 3D printers actually, and I love 3D printing, but it does have its limitations, namely being speed. And while it is faster than making something by hand, and it is faster, 3D printing is cheaper than getting something really complicated made by a CNC. But, and don't get me wrong, I still plan on using this thing for just about anything. I definitely also see a use for a CNC machine. Turn that off. Namely being speed for simple parts like these, which are extremely simple parts. Basically just a piece of the polyethylene that I did a rough pass or surface pass on, drilled a hole, went over, I think it was 60 millimeters, and drilled another hole. To make that part on a 3D printer would be stupid. You'd be better off just doing it on a drill press. But granted, you can't do it as accurately on a drill press, and I do want this to be very accurate. But yeah, a CNC can do some things a lot better. It is also not as good as a 3D printer for some things, namely height and width and depth for if you need to do something crazy, and this being just a 3-axis, it can't do any crazy detailing and contours. And it's also not the most how do I say this? It's not the most advanced mill ever. It is a retrofitted hand mill, so there would have been actual knobs on here that you'd turn, and it was retrofitted again by a company in South Africa where I live to turn it into a CNC. So it's not exactly the most polished thing ever. There's no auto tool changes, there's no software control of the speed, there's no coolant. But yeah, it's pretty cool. And my little shop of stuff is growing. Well, mine and my dad's, since I mainly do the 3D printer and the CNC stuff now. But yeah, so tell me what you think. I'm going to be doing some really cool projects. Well, first of which is going to be the 3D printer that I'm going to be building. Hopefully I'm going to try to document it better than I did any of the other 3 that I've built. I know I'm terrible. I make YouTube videos, yet I can't record fuck all that I do. But anyway, that's, yeah, just a little updates on what I've been doing, and hope you enjoyed. Goodbye.